Karen's obsession had now taken a nocturnal turn. On one particularly late night, she dialed the police after spotting me settling into my residence at midnight. Her reasoning, as usual, was absurdly framed as a suspicious activity concern, but her motives were transparent. She could not tolerate even the smallest deviation from her imagined HOA authority. I was already fully aware of her habits. Karen thrived on exaggeration, escalation, and the thrill of summoning emergency services to enforce her sense of moral and social dominance. This time, however, she had misjudged the circumstances entirely. Unbeknownst to her, the midnight move I was conducting was being assisted by officers who had prior knowledge of my lawful presence, my property rights, and my documented plans for relocation. When the police arrived, Karen launched into her usual performance, pointing toward my moving vehicles and claiming urgency. "He shouldn't be here at this hour," she insisted. "Something suspicious is happening." The officers, already briefed, paused politely, listening to her assertions while observing the scene with a critical eye. I greeted them calmly, holding the documentation that outlined both my ownership rights and the planned activities for the evening. "This is a lawful relocation," I explained. "All movements, vehicles, and personnel are fully accounted for and authorized. There is no emergency here." The officers reviewed the paperwork and nodded in understanding. Karen's face twisted with disbelief. Her assumption that the midnight hour itself constituted a violation was laughably unfounded. The situation quickly devolved for Karen. The officers, recognizing the legitimacy of my actions, instructed her that her emergency call was unnecessary and that she should not interfere with lawful activities on private property. Karen attempted to argue, but her voice, once authoritative in her own mind, fell flat against the calm professionalism of the officers and the legal clarity I had presented. I took a moment to observe her reaction. Karen's pattern was unmistakable. She relied on creating crises, summoning external authority, and attempting to coerce compliance. Yet each time, her predictability allowed me to counteract her actions with precision. I had anticipated this nocturnal escalation, ensured the presence of lawful authority, and maintained documentation that rendered her intervention null. By the time the officers left, Karen had been effectively thwarted once again. My midnight relocation proceeded without interruption, and the lodge was secure. Neighbors, who had become accustomed to her overzealous emergency calls, began to recognize the futility of her actions. Her repeated failures reinforced the lesson that entitlement and drama cannot substitute for legality, preparation, or authority. As I organized the final steps of settling in, I reflected on the broader significance. Karen's obsession with control had become a predictable rhythm. Escalation, emergency call, assertion of authority, and eventual failure. Each failed attempt, carefully documented, strengthened my position and further limited her influence. Her inability to understand or anticipate my preparations meant that she had effectively placed herself on a path of repeated public and legal humiliation. That night, as I finally stepped inside my lodge, the midnight air calm and serene, I realized something profound. Authority and control are not granted by alarm, coercion, or moral posturing. True authority arises from preparation, foresight, and lawful action. Karen's relentless attempts to assert dominance had consistently met this standard and failed, proving that strategic thinking and calm decisiveness are far more powerful than impulsive aggression. For now, the lodge was secure, my relocation completed, and Karen's midnight interference documented as another unsuccessful attempt to manipulate reality. Her pattern was clear, predictable, and entirely counterable, leaving me with the satisfaction of knowing that each new escalation only reinforced the control and security that I had carefully built over time.